This is the instructional design plan written for the MED7809 class at Wilmington University by Sarah Woodward. And this is a plan to increase ninth grade achievement, specifically in mathematics. So this plan was written for ninth grade students that are enrolled in a traditional comprehensive public high school within Delaware. So what we did was we noticed that there were many students that were not performing on grade level in ninth grade and were not being promoted to the next grade level, meaning they were being retained into ninth grade. We also noticed that the scores on the PSAT and the iReady testing were low. So we wrote this goal to kind of isolate some students, put them in small groups, and build upon their entry-level mathematics skills so they could be promoted to the next grade level. So some of the things to do this, to place students appropriately, is we need to look at the incoming ninth grade students, their attendance, and academic trends. We also can take a look and use a resource of our district math specialist, and we noticed that some of the students, there are discrepancies amongst instructions at the different high schools. So students, our typical student is a student who's completed 8th grade mathematics with a passing score or have been promoted due to age. So many students, even though they passed, because of the qualifying points in middle school, they really didn't earn a passing score every marking period, meaning they might have earned a passing score only one marking period and not really received the correct information in the other scores. There also are many students who, due to age, have been promoted into ninth grade. Those students, generally are below grade level in mathematics and have those basic foundational skills, entry-level skills, they're lacking. So here's the plan. All right, the plan is, we'll just go through the steps. First step was we could work with data on Data Service Center to identify students who are performing below grade level. We can look at the data provided by the iReady testing, which is also on the Data Service Center site. Then we would develop a team of counselors and teachers to review the students individually. It's important to have the counselors on board for this because those are the people that are going to be scheduling these students. Specifically, it's important to also include the special ed counselor. At our school, we have a specific counselor that deals with all special ed students because she's going to know those students and know how they learn. Then we're going to meet with the administrator to figure out how we can allocate time within the school day for these students to receive extra support. At 2 of the 3 high schools in our district, there is extra time. There's like an extra called mini block period, a 40-minute period, where students could be scheduled into that intervention time. At the other high school, the classes are longer and there are more special ed teachers, so that time would have to be like embedded into their normal math instruction time. It would just depend on school to school, depending on how they would do that. The next step is to send teachers to training to implement the program. So I think that would be iReady training, just so they can get familiar with the program that we'll be using as part of the instruction. Also, just providing teachers within the building an RTI team teachers time, especially with math, to meet and discuss how they're going to implement the curriculum. Maybe within that team they can create some materials, and I'll show you some materials that have been created in the past specifically for the RTI. Some other steps is to access the students' prior level knowledge. We could do this through the fall iReady testing. You could also do this in the classroom. The biggest predictor for success in this program really at this point, I think, will be students who are showing they need something. Their grades are not high coming into ninth grade, and they need that extra little bit of support. So the next thing the design team will have to provide is time to check in with teachers to ensure their success. This could be done during PLC time. During PLC time often, they'll take like 10 minutes for the department chair to ask, okay, where is everyone in the pacing guide? You could do the same thing with the RTI period. Say, okay, what's everyone working on within RTI? How are the students doing? What are some resources that are working? Let's bring in examples of student work and all look at it together. Things like that. Those are excellent activities to do. All right, last, at the end of it, we could reassess the students' prior level knowledge. We'll talk a little bit more about how this is going to happen within the time period. And the last step, hopefully, will be the goal is met. Ninth grade scores are increasing, entry-level scores, and then ninth grade students are being promoted to the next level, to 10th grade math. So here are some strategies that work. The first one is write the goal in student-friendly language. So I've rewritten the goal here just to tell the students what's going on. Students will be placed in a small group learning environment. They know, okay, I'm getting put in a small group learning. Next, students will work on strengthening the math skills needed to excel in the regularly assigned 9th grade class. I think this is important because students need to make a connection between this extra work they're doing and the 9th grade classroom. It's just like if you had a student who was on a basketball team and they needed to get better at free throws, you would say, look, you need to spend a little bit more time after class every day working on your free throw. And they would buy into that because they would say, oh, that's going to help me out in the game. And it's the same thing here. Say, look, this extra time is going to help you out in the game of math class. The motivation, I think you can show the students this with their data. You know, they take the iReady test soon into the school year within the first 1 or 2 weeks. So while we're scheduling for that, for the RTI period, we have access to our iReady data, and that is usually a very sobering response that they have when you look at that and you say, look, you're testing at the 7th grade level at, you know, in this concept, or you're testing at the 5th grade level. You know, usually students, you know, they don't like to hear that, but if you do it correctly in the right kind of environment, the one-on-one type environment, students will respond to that. And, you know, most students, they want to do well. All right. So those are some things we can do there. Let's see. So you could tell the students right next there's going to be between 10 and 14 students. They'll meet with a content area math teacher 3 days a week. A lot of times, you know, I've seen it work where if you when you're having the conversation with a student and you say, look, these are the teachers that are doing it, which teacher do you want to be with? And you can try to like accommodate that. The kids they respond like 100%. They respond well to that because they want to, you know, there's like some buy-in from them. So the one-on-one conversation is important. Okay. All right. You know, just like we said, content delivers small group instruction. They'll also use iReady testing system, which is an online learning module that'll kind of give the kids activities where they are. The data, the information they're learning is the same as they're learning in the math class. It's aligned that way. So that's all like real positive stuff. All right. So while they're in small groups, they might be doing collaborative tasks. Okay. And then the goal is 45 minutes of iReady learning modules per week. When we had the person come in for training, that was like the benchmark of kids who spend 45 minutes a week on iReady will show improvement, and that's what we want. We want them to show improvement. All right, so, you know, obviously teachers will support word walls, graphic organizer, notes, you know, just like class, you know, memory devices just to help them out. All right, so here's the two kind of systems we have. We'll be using iReady. There's a teacher toolbox that the teachers could have available to them if the administration will pay for it. We can also use some supports from the Core Plus Math book. Also, the teachers can meet together and develop some lessons, some kind of like extra lessons. So this is one that I think Rebecca Reggio at Newark High School created when she was on this team. And this is just like a review from Unit 1, linear, quadratic, exponential, rational functions. This is a good practice for the kids. They enjoy this kind of stuff. It's just handwritten. There's also extra study guide materials embedded in our current curriculum. They could pull those along with a whole toolbox of iReady assessments. Next, like I said, curriculum support, quizzes and tests are available in multiple versions. There's A version and B version. Also, there's teacher-created materials. Teachers are going to line the RTI course. It's going to go with a 9th grade pacing guide, so it's all going to kind of blend together well. Last, just reflecting on this. You know, you can do a reflection. I think the reflections could happen at the PLC level, at the teacher level, teacher and student level, teacher and parent level. The reflections can happen after each formative assessment, if not in an ongoing manner. You know, the reflections completed by the teacher team and escalated to the administration, meaning if you wanted to get administration involved, you could. I'm sure at some point administration is going to care because we're talking about 9th grade retention. We want to move those kids up and get them graduated in a couple years. All right, so if the goal isn't being met, I think that's when the instructional designer should meet with the district math curriculum specialist or the department chair to kind of discuss what are the next steps. And, you know, I really do say that when we ran this program, it was very, 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 very effective when the students felt like they had buy-in. So the conversation was actually being had between the student and the teacher, or if that wasn't going to be like a productive conversation, it was happening between the student and the RTI coordinator, and it worked out great for those kids, and they showed improvement, and it was awesome. Thank you for listening to my plan.